Alright, had to take the cover off the camera. We're live, good to go. Hopefully. Hopefully we're good to go. We have a few things to go over today. A few topics indeed. We have Freeland resigning sometime in the next few weeks, apparently, as she's been working over in Ukraine, doing whatever the hell she's doing. Looks like we're good on YouTube. And I'm going to start those up on Rumble and Kick. We're good to go. We also have another video from Nick Shirley further exposing the fraud. And we have a Markham-Unionville town hall. So we have, like I said, a few things to go over. A couple Twitter posts here as well. And then a Moose on the Loose video to end off the live stream as we usually do. Looks like Kick is being spammed with bots again already. That's phenomenal. Okay.
Liberal MP Chrystia Freeland has accepted a job as an economic advisor to the Ukrainian Prime Minister, all while remaining on as a sitting MP in the Canadian Parliament. Best of luck to Ukraine, because we're dealing with what Freeland did to the economy here. Now, all mockery aside, what Freeland is doing is a severe conflict of interest. She needs to be fired. She can't work for Canadians and a foreign country at once. If you agree with me, sign the petition at firefreeland.com. But that's not all we have planned for her. I'll tell you about it in a second, but first, some facts. Members of Parliament, of course, are paid by Canadians to represent Canadians. Seems simple, right? They vote on budgets, foreign aid, sanctions, trade, defense, and countless little decisions that shape where billions of dollars go. Freeland now holds a role that benefits directly from the outcome of those very decisions. Canada sends huge sums of money to Ukraine. A few billions just a week ago. Canadians are told it's urgent, it's necessary, it's moral, and then they're expected to stop asking questions. But no Canadian MP should be taking a formal advisory role with any foreign government while still holding public office here. In response to intense social media outcry, Freeland posted to her X account saying that her role with the Ukrainian government would be voluntary, as though that makes a difference, and that she would be stepping aside from her role as the Prime Minister's special representative for the reconstruction of Ukraine, and that in the coming weeks, whatever that means, she would leave her seat in Parliament. But that is not good enough, because that means for the indefinite near term, Freeland would also be working for the Ukrainian government while simultaneously working for the Canadian government. An extreme conflict of interest that needs to end immediately.
She has been over there for months now. She's been working with them for quite a while now. And it's just crazy that only now we're starting to sit here and go, this is a conflict of interest. It's been a conflict of interest the day one, the first day she went over there. Last year. I believe it was end of September, beginning of October. So, like, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Principle is very simple. Divided loyalties poison public trust. And the Liberals are letting it happen because they are politically trapped. They're in a minority parliament. They're fighting for survival. They can't afford to lose a seat. They can't afford to go to a by-election. They cannot afford a scandal that costs them support. So they're lowering the bar and daring the rest of us to object to any of it. This is what desperation looks like. Ethics sacrificed for cynical political math. Canada has conflict of interest rules and cooling off periods for a reason. They exist to prevent public officials, like Freeland, from using office, contacts, and influence as a bridge to outside appointments, especially appointments tied to foreign governments. The public should never have to wonder whether an MP is acting for constituents or an outside employer. The public should never have to guess where loyalty ends and opportunity begins. Freeland hasn't even pretended to respect that boundary. She didn't resign. She didn't step aside. She didn't even wait. She took the role while still holding power here. Now put yourself in the shoes of her poor constituents. You elected a local representative. You did not elect a part-time international advisor. You did not vote for a dual role arrangement where your MP can help steer Canadian policy while formally advising a foreign government that benefits from Canadian spending. No grown-up functioning country allows any of this without consequences.
That was the best way to put it, and I'm just gonna leave it there because that was perfect. People did not vote for this. Ukraine is benefiting from us giving them money, and now she's financially advising them. And once again, she's been over there for months. She's been doing different things, right? Different things. But now she's taken this role. Yeah, okay, sure, whatever. Absolute bullcrap. Absolute bullcrap. And we all know it. We all know it. The fact that she's able to get away with this stuff is wild. Switching gears very briefly, we have the average Mark Carney voter here in a nutshell. The average liberal voter in a nutshell.
You guys vote?
Yeah.
You guys vote?
Yeah. Carney won, so
Is that a good thing?
yeah, it's a good thing.
Why did you vote for Carney?
Because he makes most sense out of people, so
What makes the most sense to you from his policies?
I don't know.
Is there one specific policy that you were really interested in of his?
No.
Okay, thanks for your time.
All right, bye-bye.
And there you have it. They just... not a single thought going on behind those sunglasses. Nothing going on there. Moving on. Bloc Québécois leader, Francois Blanchet. Yves Francois Blanchet. God, the French names. Just to keep going on with that name. Just keep adding more to it. Just keep it on. Fuck. Accuses Trump of having interfered in the 2025 federal election campaign and handed it to the Liberals. Well, he's not technically wrong, but I don't know. It's kind of a funny one because Mark Carney stood up there, claimed Donald Trump was going to annex Canada and take over Canada, and then Donald Trump endorsed Mark Carney multiple times, and people still voted for him. So I don't get it. I don't understand the liberal voters' mind or thought process. Based on the last video, clearly not much is going on behind the sunglasses of that individual specifically, and probably most of the liberal voters. Single issue individuals who just wanted Orange Man bad to deal with the Orange Man. And Mark Carney has failed to do that in literally every aspect. The very thing he ran on and campaigned on. He failed to do it. And he's still failing. He's failing in so many ways. It's crazy. Thousands of jobs pouring out of the country. The only jobs they've been able to create are government jobs, meaning taxpayer dollars going towards the salaries of workers. That's not really sustainable, is it? Just recycling taxpayer dollars over and over again? Yeah, it's a weird one. It's a weird one, that's for sure. It's very funny, though. They voted for the man that Donald Trump endorsed because they thought he was the best to negotiate against Donald Trump. Talk about a bunch of just insane people. Speaking of insane people, this pretty much summarizes Reddit. This is a perfect summary of Reddit over the past couple days. As a Venezuelan, this shit's lit with the fire emoji. And right under you have the average leftist Palestinian flag calling him a fascist. Once again, you have the actual Venezuelans cheering, supporting, loving this as if it's literally Christmas all over again. And your typical average white leftist dictating to them and lecturing to them what they should think of their own country. And it's just the virtue signaling of the leftists, the moral high ground of the leftists. They think they're just better than everybody. They think that everybody needs their help because they're educated, because they're so much more intelligent than everybody else. So say it's literally what Mark Carney used to get elected. He used his background in this, that, and the fourth. Oh, he's a banker. Oh, he's this. Guys, he has decades of experience. He's so intelligent. He knows how to deal with this. They belittled the opposition. They belittled Pierre Poilievre. And look what all that experience has gotten us so far. A whole lot of nothing. A whole lot of nothing. Just saying. Just saying. And it's a very, very typical leftist tactic. To be the white savior, the virtue signaler. Enough of your fake outrage. Nobody wants to hear it anymore. Nobody wants to hear it anymore.
He defrauded the party, but more importantly, he defrauded $27,000 plus people in Markham-Unionville who put their faith in his word.
I was in his head office, and he told me that
I just realized the microphone wasn't working there. Just want to double check that the audio levels are working. I think we're back. This is the Markham-Unionville town hall meeting that happened. People are outraged with Michael Ma. Rightfully so. The constituents there want answers. The residents are pissed. This man just crossed the floor like a light switch. No ifs, ands, or buts. He claimed he spoke to a bunch of people in his riding, but this outrage is so extreme, it's obviously the opposite of what he's saying.
you will be an MP in 6 months.
Michael Ma must go. We must demand his resignation right now.
If their voices are being silenced in a very unexplained way, that will become the force.
Scarlet Grace with Rebel News. We are back in the Markham-Unionville riding for a town hall meeting to discuss MP Michael Ma, who crossed the floor from the Conservative Party to join the Liberals. Among attendees today are disgruntled constituents, Conservative MPs, and we have a former employee of Michael Ma. Let's hear what they have to say.
He never talked with any residents in Unionville. I don't know which leader, which resident, which constituent he spoke. I know some people from his hometown maybe supported him.
Yet he claims he hears our priorities every day.
As I listen to the people of Markham-Unionville and community leaders about the need for Canada to be united and to be strong.
Did Michael Ma ever knock on your door? No. Did Michael Ma ever call one of you?
Never.
And we certainly did the job here in Markham-Unionville. We vetted Michael Ma. We looked into his background, his business dealings, and his resume. On paper, he was a great candidate. A self-made man, a community leader, a champion of fiscal responsibility. But there's one thing a background check cannot detect. It cannot detect the issue of the soul.
Here to say to the people, I think the people in Markham-Unionville are doing an incredible thing, pushing back against this, calling it for what it is. It's traitors to Canada and to the people here in Markham-Unionville. I'm so happy to see a grassroots movement, to organize and to rally around this and to push back against Michael's decision.
That if you're going to represent 27,000 people, you need to be accountable, big time. And your words are one thing, your actions speak volumes.
Democracy depends on the trust. And the trust depends on the principle we respect the voters. So let's respect the voters.
I couldn't believe that Michael had betrayed the trust of over 27,000 people. And I regretted volunteering for him. I regretted knocking on doors for him.
What do you think is going to happen next? Do you think that the momentum of the kind of grassroots movement that started here will keep going?
I think
this isn't going away anytime soon. This has been going on for weeks now, and this is a brand new video 18 hours ago. The fact that they still have trucks driving around with his face on it, with a giant L on his forehead, calling him a traitor and all that, right? Like, obviously, he is a traitor. He lied to the people in his riding. He's supposed to represent the people that voted him in. Same thing with Chris D'Entremont. Chris D'Entremont seems to be getting away a little scot-free with this one, right? All of the attention, all of the "we want you to resign" is going towards Michael Ma, but everybody seems to kind of forgotten about Chris D'Entremont. It just, he's gotten away with it. Michael Ma, though, on the other hand, not the case. Not the case. These campaigns have been going on for weeks straight. And the fact that they're holding little town hall meetings now, it's not going away.
I think in the nature of every human being, if their voices are being silenced in a very unexplained way, that will become the force. So I think the momentum is getting louder and louder now.
He offered me to be an MP in his office when he told me, when he broke the news. By the way, I came to know the news half an hour before he broke the news.
Because this honestly shows, does your vote really matter? Do your ideals really matter? If the person you're voting in can claim to be one thing one day and then boom, just like that, for their own benefit, switch over to another party. It just, all the people in this riding, not all of them obviously, but at least a majority, this was a conservative stronghold, and it was mentioned time and time again. If it wasn't a conservative stronghold, there would be no pushback, there would be no town hall meetings, but there are. Their people are pissed, they're fed up, they want answers, they need this man gone, to step down, resign. He's obviously not going to. He's shown his true colors at this point, but it's just, it speaks for itself. It really does. It really does speak for itself. Does your vote matter? If the person you're voting in to represent your ideals and what you believe in can just boom, I don't care about what you voted me in for anymore. Even the volunteers, the people that literally dedicated hours of their free time, their own time, hardworking people who thought this guy is going to represent me going forward, just to do exactly that. Michael Ma, Chris D'Entremont, honestly, any floor crosser of any kind, very, very spineless. Very spineless.
I was in his head office, and he told me that you will be an MP in 6 months. I said, it depends if my values are right. I refuse to be an MP in a Liberal Party, but I will stand for conservatives.
I asked him, can you say thank you to the WeChat group of the volunteers, because we have contributed a lot of time, just to show your appreciation, because you personally got elected, but the whole party is not elected, so we still disappointed. Can you comfort people? After 5 days, he replied to me, okay, and never did anything.
And you want proof of his character? Just look at his interview on CP24. He didn't stumble. He wasn't conflicted. He sat there and he admitted that the very night before he made his traitorous decision, he was at the conservative Christmas party. He drank our wine. He laughed with our staff. He even toasted our leader. He took a picture with him.
The night I attended the Conservative Party, I was truly a conservative member and an MP. I have not made a decision at that point.
If Michael had any integrity, he would resign, and and you would have a by-election here. I'm not voting out vote based on his actions of the last month that he's going to do the right thing. So I think the reality is that the people that are here, they're organizing. They've got to stay ready. We're going to get into the federal elections too, that a lot of people think. We're very close, despite what the media is saying out there right now.
We're kind of seeing...
Yeah, it's bad when even the CBC can't defend what's happening. With Freeland right now, not fully resigning, being over in Ukraine for months, now taking this new position while still serving as a Canadian MP. The Michael Moss situation is growing more and more. They're literally holding a town hall meeting. Quebec losing all faith, Quebec MPs losing all faith in the Liberal Party. Like, it's only a matter of time. That's really what it feels like. Carney has tried to appease everybody, and in this journey of trying to do so, he has failed. And he has divided Canada more than anybody else. Separatist movements in almost every province are growing now. He has destroyed Canada in less than a year. In less than a year. Like, the damage is... it's insane. I think it's only a matter of time. There's no way. There's no way this continues. Like, the video I uploaded on the main channel, a former Trudeau advisor was calling out the Liberal Party for this disastrous thing going on with Freeland. They can't defend this. The CBC is struggling to defend the party. That's how you know it's bad.
The momentum persists with the people. They're very determined.
Yeah, and especially when I see somebody from Nova Scotia. He actually see the momentum that's getting on in the Markham-Unionville. It's going back to do the same thing for the Nova Scotia.
This is the man who has been bought. This is the man we put our hopes on, and he trampled our hope under his foot for personal gain, I bet.
The media will tell you, oh, this happens all the time. Court crossings, they're part of the Canadian tradition. Don't let them gaslight you. There's a difference between crossing for conscience and crossing for profit.
I literally had no life. I worked full time with him, and then I went to events with him in the weekends. My wife did not see me for the last 7 months because I was working with him every day, from 9 to 5 and then 5 to 8. It was not him I was only working for. It was the party. It was what we stood for, what we stand for. That's what I work for.
It's very important that the democracy is a true democracy.
The people voted for conservative MP. They want conservative values in the riding being represented. If you really wanted to run as yourself, if people were just electing you, you should run as an independent.
I want my vision of a free, democratic, and sovereign Canada to count. Do you?
Yes. We are now just one seat shy of a Liberal majority government. Is that something that you're concerned about?
Well, concern is one thing, but we don't lose hope because I think democracy has its way to work its way to the best outcome.
It wasn't until I had the opportunity to confirm my understanding of Prime Minister Carney's approach and his vision for Canada. Of course, up to that point, I have reflected on a lot of the comments, as I said, from the people I have talked to in Markham-Unionville and Canadians at large.
He didn't cross because of a crisis of faith. He crossed because he saw the Liberals were just short of a majority and he wanted to be the one to sell it to them. He traded the trust of 27,000 plus people in Markham-Unionville for a better parking spot on Parliament Hill.
I take back my vote. You do not represent me. You are a tool, you are a joke, and you are a clown, and I did not vote for a clown. You will not disrespect our sacred vote.
Michael Ma didn't win in Markham-Unionville. People of Markham-Unionville, like he served his year, put him in power.
We could have a federal election a lot sooner than we think. So we need to get ready. We need to develop candidates that can speak to this and show up, and not just show up after they get elected, but show up and actually represent you.
It was not just me who resigned. There was another person from the head office. She also resigned. She lives in Markham-Unionville just like me. We did everything right. We put him in power, and we have the right to take him out of power also.
And that's just it. That should be it, right? And you would think, you vote these people in, they're doing a terrible job, get them out. It's time to go. But it's corruption at its finest, right? Michael Ma is a snake. Yeah, the people there are rightfully pissed to the point that they're literally holding town halls now, like I mentioned before. This isn't going away anytime soon. Like I said, people gave hours of their free time, their own time, to help prop up Michael Ma, just for him to spit in their face and go to the other side. So hopefully they get what they want. Hopefully Markham-Unionville gets justice or whatever they please when it comes to that. Michael Ma is a scumbag. Anyway, Nick Shirley, back again. A video yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. Freshly uploaded, going over obviously the scandals going on there with the daycares, the Leering Center. And Nick Shirley officially retired Tim Walz. The scandal is so bad, it blew up to major proportions, mega viral all over the nation, worldwide, that Tim Walz literally gave up. He raised the white flag, and Timmy Boy is going home.
How bad is this fraud?
This is the worst fraud in human history.
How have Somalians gotten into the system to fraud the American taxpayer?
They have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fraudulent companies set up, and they're sucking billions of dollars out of the state of Minnesota.
And how have you seen the weaponization of the word racist and Islamophobe take power here?
Here in Minnesota, potentially the largest fraud to ever happen in America is happening right now, as billions of dollars has been laundered and funneled and given to Somali-ran businesses here inside of Minnesota, all across the state. I'm here in Minneapolis right now, and I'm meeting with a man who's been doing his own research for years, as he's been speculating this fraud, as he's seen it blatantly inside of his neighborhoods and the areas that he calls home. This is an interview with a man who has done everything possible to expose the fraud. And now let's get into the interview. What's the need for $2.25 million for a daycare?
$1 million.
How come they said this building was closed?
There's a lot of fraud happening here in Minnesota.
It's time to leer, and you can bet your ass we'll be watching part 2 of that scandal when it comes out.
Living here for years now. How bad is this fraud?
So I was born in Minneapolis a long time ago. I've lived my whole life here, and my opinion is that this is the worst fraud in human history, what is occurring in Minnesota and more specifically in the Twin Cities right now.
How much money do you think has been sent around fraudulently here inside Minnesota?
Over the years, I would say anywhere from 80 to $100 billion.
And right now the big controversy is with Tim Walz and his government and the fraud that they've allowed to happen within the Somalian community. Right behind us is Cedar Riverside, a location where it is very densely populated with Somalians. How have Somalians gotten into the system to fraud the American taxpayer?
Well, so that complex you're seeing behind there, I attended the University of Minnesota, and in the area we're on right now, this is the West Bank, and it was always called the West Bank, and it was sort of the place to be when you're in college, and that was all student housing, 100%. That building you see in the background, it's now 100% Somali. And I can tell you confidently, they don't pay for their housing, they don't pay for their food, they don't pay for their vehicles, and on top of that, they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fraudulent companies set up, and they're sucking billions of dollars out of the state of Minnesota.
And how are they sucking billions of dollars out of the state of Minnesota?
Well, one example would be with the hundreds of child care facilities that they have set up, and on every one that I visited, and I've been to maybe 100 of them or more, I never, ever have seen one child at any facilities ever over the past 7 years, 8 years.
What are the businesses that are being used to fraud the taxpayer here in Minnesota? You have the daycares. What are all of them?
So you have child care, you have adult daycare, you have in-home health care, you have straight health care, and nobody really knows how that's defined. And then you have transportation, non-emergency medical transportation. And if you do a search, you'll see that the state of Minnesota says they have 1,020 non-emergency medical transportation companies, And my research is showing that 95% of those are Somali owned. And what I know is that the people writing the check.
That is fucking insane. That is crazy. Why does a state need that many leering centers? It really makes you wonder.
To the state of Minnesota never, ever, ever verify that any trip was ever made or that any appointment was ever made with a dentist, chiropractor, or anything.
And so these people are able to start these businesses and then immediately get funds from the government?
Yes, so interestingly that you bring up licensing, because another area of fraud that I exposed was all of these autism centers, because I would drive around the Twin Cities. I said, well, there's another autism center. I said, what's going on with all this autism? Is there something in the water? And then I started to look at, well, who owns these autism centers? And virtually 99% of them were owned by Somalis.
And is there an autism outbreak here in Minnesota right now?
There is not. But to open an autism center, you do not need a license.
And so people are claiming their children are autistic to receive money from the government.
Yes.
And the government, underneath Tim Walz's leadership, they're not going in, investigating, and doing their due diligence to say, maybe we shouldn't give this company $1 million.
Well, so what's happening is there have been some sporadic inspections done at these facilities, and I have records of some of these inspections. And one inspection, they'll get 11 violations. A child care facility with 11 violations, that is bad. I mean, unsanitary conditions, broken furniture, no play area for the children. And so they write these things in their report, but then they never follow up to make sure. They never physically revisit the site to make sure that any of those violations are corrected. What they accept is documentation from the center that they've made the corrections.
So at the end of the day, they're able to violate certain guidelines, yet they still receive money somehow. How is there not somebody inside the state who's saying, okay, we are seeing this fraud happen, let's maybe not just continue to give money to these people?
So you've probably heard the term Minnesota nice before, which back in the old times, in the old days, it meant something. Now it's actually a curse upon us, because the people here, the majority of the people, they're afraid of their own shadows. I'm an outcast because I'm exposing this fraud. I'm telling the truth. My family has basically disowned me because of all of this fraud that I've uncovered, and I've been called a racist, an Islamophobe, a white supremacist, Nazi, all these things. And I said, look, everything that I talk about is verified. I have it in writing. I've gone to politicians. I've gone to Washington, D.C. over the years. I said, look, this fraud is out of control. This is approaching $100 billion. And now you see the U.S. attorney, they started with defeating our future, $250 million. I said, no, that's amateur hour. Then they said it's $1 billion. Now, just today, the U.S. attorney held a press conference and said the fraud is possibly as much as $18 billion. But we don't really know what period of time, and I'm telling you, it's way more than that.
Holy Christ, $18 billion. How did Doge and Elon Musk not find out about this when they were doing their thing? I mean, they weren't in office for a long period of time, but they found a lot of insane spending, and you would think this would have ended up on some list for sure.
You have transportation, autism, childcare, daycare, healthcare. And nobody knows what's healthcare, because they're not healthcare providers. So what is the healthcare? They have in-home healthcare.
And so what's the need, for example, for 1,200 transportation companies inside of Minnesota? What's the need for that many transportation?
Well, there isn't. There isn't. You're talking about getting a ride. You already have services that are provided. You have Metro Mobility that offers free rides to seniors and low-income people. And so to have that many non-emergency medical transportation companies, it's not possible that they can transport that many people. I have been to many of these transportation companies, and I've been time-stamping my photographs for a whole year at one facility in Minneapolis, and those vans in that parking lot have not moved 1 inch in an entire year. They're all still sitting there.
And so when you think about it, you have, with the transportation companies, you have the adult care centers. So are they working hand in hand together to then say, we're getting the services from them, the adult daycare centers, to then transport them to their appointments?
So My feeling is this transportation deal is kind of the belly of the beast, because you also have these charter schools, and there's a school in North Minneapolis called Bonadier Academy. It's a K through 12 school, so that's K through 12, so that's 13 years, 13 classes, right? And they say they have 150 students. I found data that they have 136. So that's 10 people per class. How is that possible? And they're getting somewhere around $20 to $30 million a year for what?
So 130 students, and they're receiving around $20 million.
Or more, yes.
A lot of these schools are.
Yes.
The fraud here is like exuberant amount of numbers. How about as to how much they're actually enabling to happen here? We went to a fraud committee, and you saw the people. I even confronted one of the ladies myself, and she started to blame the fraud and deflecting it upon how there's fraud everywhere. And she didn't take any accountability. She didn't take responsibility. In fact, she blamed Trump for the fraud that's been happening here inside of Minnesota.
Right. So Kristen Robbins is the chairwoman of the fraud committee, and she was attacked by that Democrat member you were just talking about.
Just a quick interruption here. Take a look at this tweet. Yeah, right here. Just wanted to make sure it loads properly. From CTV News, Eric Ham, I guess that's a journalist, a air quotations journalist. Canada beware, Trump's Venezuela invasion is a clear warning shot. Whoa, what? What the fuck are you going on about? And look at this one right here, the first one, Jasmine Lane. Towards terrorists. Are you implying Canada is run by a dictatorial terrorists? Holy shit, dude. CTV, CBC. Oh, they're just like a satire site at this point. Like, holy shit. It's wild. The stuff that comes out of here to fearmonger, to create division, to... I don't know, man. The same people who call Trump a dictator are now defending dictators. They're defending Maduro, saying what they did to Maduro is a bad thing. Oh, man. Oh, man. Yep, right here. Right here. My God. Yeah, Carney is a dictator. The liberals are a dictator. They're fucking terrible. Oh my God. If they actually go through with these censorship laws even further than what they have, it's a very slippery slope. I don't want to say it's game over to be like overly dramatic, but like, holy shit, man. We're heading down a very strange path.
For not telling that committee about all this fraud. Well, the law says in Minnesota that if you are an elected or public official and you are aware of fraud or suspected fraud, it's Minnesota Statute 3.971, Subdivision 9, that you must report that fraud or suspected fraud immediately to the Office of the Legislative Auditor, the OLA, and then the OLA decides which law enforcement agency to refer the complaint to.
And they failed to do that.
No, Kristen Robbins did that. She said, I reported it to the OLA, and the Democrat, she had no idea how things work in Minnesota. She was just so enraged about all this fraud getting exposed.
Yeah, because they don't want to take accountability, because the fraud is so blatant. You can go to any of these daycare centers. There are no children anywhere.
Last Saturday, I was in front of the governor's mansion, and I was attacked by 3 Somali men. It's on camera. I made a 911 call. Nobody came to help me. The week before that, I fought off a knife attack. And these people are very violent, and people are afraid of them. The police are even afraid of them. And the police chief is out there telling the public, if you see an ICE agent, call 911. I mean, it's insanity. It's just pure evil. I mean,
Now, let's directly talk about the Somali population because, for instance, you get attacked by 3 Somalians, the police don't come, they're told to call police if they see ICE. How come Somalians have been able to get such a strong foothold here inside of Minnesota, specifically here in Minneapolis?
The reason is that the Somali community is a closed community. What I mean by that is they do not talk to outsiders, and they are ruled with an iron fist by the Somali mafia. And one of those guys is the guy who just got convicted of $7.2 million of fraud, a unanimous jury verdict, and Judge Sarah West overturned the verdict. I couldn't believe it. That was my discovery of all that fraud. I'm the one who got that guy brought before the jury, and then they find him guilty and they let him go. And now you have Keith Ellison who says he's going to appeal the verdict. Well, he's a Muslim. He's going to find a way to screw it up.
So even if they are committed for fraud, that guy, he's committed for how much?
7.2 is what the unanimous jury verdict, 7.2 million.
And then they just went ahead and released him.
The judge overturned the verdict. He's walking free as we speak, still collecting money from the state. And it's federal money too. So we need the feds to come in here because this is not all state money. There's federal money that's involved here, and it's way beyond anybody's imagination, the total amount. The state doesn't even know. The feds don't even know.
And so, for instance, why would that judge bow down to the head of the Somali mafia here?
What I can tell you is that it's a voting bloc, and what they say is if you do something to go against our community, we're going to vote for, and they all vote together, and there's ballot harvesting, I've seen them do it, that we're going to vote for your opponent unless you do what we tell you to do.
And so it's all purely for votes?
Yes.
And so this building right here, Cedar Riverside, major, massive apartment complex. How many Somalians do you think live in there, for instance?
Well, this is just one complex. You've got 20 more just like this around the Twin Cities, and they're all Somali. You're talking probably 100,000 or more people, and they're all living rent-free. They're driving a vehicle that you paid for. They're eating food that you paid for. Everything they do is something that you paid for.
And for instance, that entire block will then go and vote for one specific candidate.
They'll have one person go there and collect all the ballots, and nobody tracks. They could say they have 9 people living in an apartment. They're going to send them 9 ballots. And then they have someone who comes along, collects all the ballots, and they fill them out, and then they deliver them all to the ballot box or wherever they deliver them all at once. There's no verification. Nobody's doing anything to know if these people are even citizens that are voting.
And how well have they integrated into society here?
Not at all. It's either you do things their way or you're a racist or an Islamophobe and you will be attacked. My life's been threatened many times. I've had people tell me, just stop doing what you're doing. They're gonna take you out. And I can't do it because everybody says somebody ought to do something about that. I'm that somebody. I'm the guy who's doing something about it.
And what led you to want to do this, where you're so passionate about it, where you've done your own investigation? If you were working for the government, you'd be called a whistleblower. Thankfully, you're a whistleblower in your own way as far as you're coming out with the information, with the numbers. When we went to all the daycare centers, you had the numbers specifically as to how much money these people have been receiving at these daycares, and there wasn't a single daycare inside of the Minneapolis-St. Paul area that wasn't receiving at least $1 million.
Yeah, so we hit 3 of the top, and so when you're talking about money going to the daycare, we were looking just specifically at CCAP money, which is Child Care Assistance Payments. And the one daycare we went to on Chicago Avenue that said they had 102 children, they got $3.6 million in fiscal year 2025. And in 2024, they got $2.8 million. And how many kids did we see there? 0. In fact, we didn't see a single child at any of the child care facilities. And that's the way they all are every single day.
And I want to keep going in about how Somalia has gained such a stronghold of this area of Minnesota. They're building mosque block to block in St. Cloud. That's just about an hour away from Minneapolis. And here in Minneapolis and St. Paul and the Twin Cities, you have entire apartment complexes where there are not a single white Caucasian living inside.
Right.
And then you also have, I've heard in Rochester, it's pretty bad as well. But how did they come in and then expand to the point where they kicked out everybody from a college area to where the point where they have now the apartment complex? How have they expanded so much here inside of Twin Cities areas?
It's because they all stick together. They all sing the racist Islamophobe mantra over and over and over. They'll lie, they'll say you assaulted them, they'll do all these things until eventually they force people out. Right up the road from us is Palmer's Bar. It opened in 1906. I used to go there because you could drink when you were underage, and I went to the U of M, so hey, you could have a beer. And that place was legendary, and what happened was the residents who live in that building right behind us filed so many false reports against patrons of that bar and the bar itself that the city went to the owners of Palmer's Bar and said, look, you either shut down voluntarily or we're going to drag you through and we're going to make you spend a lot of money and we're still going to shut you down. So that bar has been shut down and now they're going to turn it into what? Another mosque.
So they push out what used to be Minnesota staples such as Palmer's Bar, and now that bar is turning into a mosque.
There's a mansion over on 24th and Park Avenue, historic building. They bought that, they're turning that into a mosque. They're building another brand new mosque not far away. And it's like you're in a dream and there's something really bad happening to you and you're screaming and all these people are walking by and nobody hears you. That's what I live every day. That's my life every day. But I'm committed to doing what I can to end this. I just want it to stop.
And how have you seen the weaponization of the word racist and Islamophobe take power here?
It's incredibly powerful, and all I can describe it as evil. It is an evil that has taken hold here, and it's permeated all of our society. And the people in Minnesota, they just want to stick their head in the sand and pretend it doesn't. Somebody will do something about it. They don't have to do anything, or it's not going to affect them. And they don't. In their mind, they want to redecorate the upstairs bedroom when there's a massive crack in the foundation that's allowing all this water and dirt and everything to get in there, and they're worried about the upstairs bedroom. It's insanity.
And real quick break from the interview to tell you guys about the sponsor of this video, Opus Clip. What used to just be new watching this video at 5th comment down below and use code Nick Shirley. And now let's get back into the interview. And did you ever think this would happen to your town?
Never.
And when did it start to happen?
I first started to notice the tenets of this going back more than 20 years ago. And I started to say, what's going on here? And then I found out how a lot of these Somalis were getting to Minnesota. And let me tell you, they weren't going through customs like you have to. They weren't. So I'll leave it at that. And then where did the bus bring them? Right there. To Cedar Riverside. That was the hub of Somali, their foothold in Minneapolis. And then Omar Jamal stood in a corner in downtown Minneapolis, got to be 15, 20 years ago, and he said, we're planting our flag right here. This is going to be Somali World Headquarters outside of Somalia, Minneapolis. And don't you know, the state flag of Minnesota was changed from this beautiful historic flag to the flag that is almost exactly the same as the flag of Somalia.
Well, Tim Waltz said your old flag was racist.
Yeah, it was a farmer with a plow horse. That's racist. Why, because it's somebody working? That's racism.
Tim Waltz, he's an interesting man. He's enabled a lot of this fraud to happen underneath him. Was the fraud happening before Tim Waltz as well?
Well, likely yes, it was, because he's going for his third term as governor. So Tim Walz is from Nebraska. He was a teacher. He lied about getting a Nebraska Chamber of Commerce award. He lied about his military service. Everybody knows. And he's scared to death now that this fraud has been exposed, and he's scrambling. And he has a press conference on gun control. I go, what do you, gun control? You got $100 billion of fraud. You're going to talk about people not walking around with machine guns? I mean, what is this, the 1920s?
And inside these apartment complexes, not just Cedar Riverside, how do they force, because this one right here, you only see Somalians. How do they force any other race, white, Asian, black, Mexican, how do they make it so that these apartment complexes are only their apartment complexes?
So there are a couple of ways they do it. One is to incessantly harass any non-Somali tenant so that they have to move out, or they file false complaints, multiple complaints against someone until they're evicted. The city will come in if it's a city-owned building, if it's income housing, and they'll evict that person, and then the Somali moves in. And that's how they've been doing it all around the Twin Cities. Folks, I'm just telling you, as bad as you think it is, it's 10 times worse. You'll never see anything like this. If you went to any country around the world, you'll never see anything as bad as it is right here in Minneapolis.
So for instance, say I were to move inside and got myself an apartment over in Cedar Riverside, and I started listening to music a little too loud or watching a movie too late at night, and somebody next door had a baby, and they said that was just too much a noise complaint. Would they call you a racist, or how would they get you out of the apartment?
Yeah, they would say you harassed them, you threatened them, you assaulted them. It's something that their mindset is that they don't care as long as they can get their way. They don't care what happens to anybody else who's not a Somali. And they have warring factions within the Somali community because this is such a cash grab that they're fighting them. There are factions within the Somali community that are fighting amongst each other.
So do you think right now in Somalia, people know if they make their way to Minnesota, they'll be able to get $1 million?
Absolutely. Everyone knows it's wide open. It's the Wild West.
Because I say $1 million because every place we went to and where we have gone, everything is above $1 million. Like, it's not just like a $500,000. It's not just what would be a great salary of $60,000 to $100,000 for a single person. It's literally millions of dollars. It's not a joke when you say that these people are becoming millionaires just from getting money from the government.
So think about it. You get up and you go to work every day and you make $50,000, $60,000 and you work like crazy. Some of you work two jobs, 3 jobs. They're not working at all. And they're getting new free cars, free housing, free food, everything. It
sounds like what's happening here when the people come here and they get like $80,000 over a year to fund food and expenses and all this shit. And it's like, are you kidding me? Depending on how many children they have, they get paid more based on that as well. So they just come over with their entire families. It's just crazy. And you have people that already live in the country, are actual citizens of the country, who can't afford things, who can't, right? Like, it just, I don't know. It's wild. The amount of spending, the amount of waste, the amount of corruption, it's across the board a disaster.
Completely out of control here. I need the federal government to come in here and put a stop to this because the political will in Minnesota is not here to do it.
And because that money that they receive what are they? Are they grants? Are they relief? What are the money that they get? What do they label that as?
Well, so interesting you brought up grants because that's a whole nother, so they have a thing called Minnesota Deeds, DEEDS grants. And I looked at the list of grants that were just issued this year, and they're about 75% Somali owned. So those are more money they're just giving them, and they're not even tracking what's being done with the money. They fill out a form saying, we're going to use it for this. Nobody follows up. So you've got childcare, you've got transportation.
But what's that money labeled underneath as? Say, for instance, when $1 million is sent to a childcare, is that money labeled as what would it be?
Well, it's a number of things. It's CCAP, which is child care assistance payments. It's SNAP benefits. It's learning. So they separate it as learning. So we're learning. So we're not just a child care.
It's actually leering. Get it right. These aren't learning centers. These are leering centers. Look, there's a lot more to go into this, but we're going to switch gears here very soon. It's a nightmare. The fact that they're giving money to these daycare centers that are supposed to have children, and they're not even following up on that, is pretty alarming. Like, you would think if children are involved that the government would be like, all right, man, maybe we should do a wellness check. You know, we're giving how much money to these leering centers just for them to not have any children at all? And even if they do have children, the conditions, does it meet a regulatory whatever status for a daycare? Probably not. Right? Like, there's all sorts of things that go that go into that. But anyway, moving on, switching over to some Canadian stuff. Moose on the loose, and then we're going to end today's stream
Can't believe that someone with the experience and expertise of Chrystia Freeland doesn't seem to quite get that.
Carney is desperate. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we've found out that Mark Carney is desperately trying to get another conservative to flip because his whole dog and pony show here is completely imploding. There's a lot of timelines of people stepping down.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that as well. A conservative MP was asked to join the Liberals, probably with a juicy bribe. And he pretty much told the Liberals to go fuck themselves. In a lengthy statement, he told them to fuck off. And it's the greatest thing ever.
Elections, all this stuff, it all works against Mark Carney. Let's jump into this. Breaking Venezuela's Caracas Stock Exchange ends the day nearly 17% higher as the market reacts to Maduro being kicked out. Look at that. The country's already recovering.
Shit.
Unbelievable. I just want to briefly touch on this. So the Reclamaire, this channel here that I featured a few times on the channel already, that was digging into a lot of wasteful indigenous spending has, well, it's gotten nuked. This channel is completely removed off of X now. Not exactly sure what's going on here, but he does have a GitHub, which I showed before. You could search all the spending. This has also been removed, so people are wondering if he got a cease and desist or is getting sued or something. So Chrystia Freeland finally came out with this response after I put out my video yesterday. It says, Ukraine is at the forefront of today's global fight for democracy, and I welcome this chance to contribute on an unpaid basis as an economic advisor to President Zelensky. I'm accepting this voluntary position. I will be stepping aside from my role as Prime Minister's special representative for the reconstruction of Ukraine, so the envoy role. In the coming weeks, I will also leave my seat in Parliament. I want to thank my constituents for the years and confidence in me, yada, yada. So what's basically happened here? I made two predictions in the previous video, and both of them came true. So she is using the loophole, as I stated, to get around this unpaid position, and she's going to be resigning her seat here. And with this, I did ask her for a comprehensive list of everything she's done since becoming envoy to Ukraine on September 16th, and well, I don't think she's replied. Sadly, no, she's not giving me a list.
And today wasn't, I'm resigning from all that stuff with the Canadian government. Even though this is unpaid, even though it's not full-time, it is serving in an official capacity to a foreign government.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you said that the opposition was pretty quick to send out their reaction to this. Yeah, obviously, it's kind of like a no-brainer, I would think, and it's a bit shocking, frankly, that we wouldn't have had the resignation of that special envoy position, whatever the official title was, and the confirmation of resignation as an MP. I mean, it's really sort of like day one of onboarding of being elected is that you probably should not do something like this, right? It's 101, first thing. You
know it's bad when liberal Brian Gallant is saying it. I mean, let's get real here. This is awful optics for Mark Carney.
Every liberal. Like I said before, even the CBC cannot defend this. They had a former Trudeau liberal advisor or campaign, whatever the hell she was. She worked with Trudeau. Even she couldn't defend it. That's how bad this looks. It's terrible for them. And based on how everybody just consumes the mainstream media and doesn't really dig further into this, a lot of the people that voted for Carney are going to see this and go, oh, actually, I'm okay with it. That's okay, actually. I like that we're sending billions of dollars over to Ukraine. That's what they're probably thinking. They don't really care, right? They're a cult. They think this stuff is okay. They think that they're putting the right foot forward and that for some reason sending billions of dollars to Ukraine will help benefit Canada. That's what they're really thinking. This will disappear in the next few days. It won't be talked about again. And the mainstream media will find some way to blame the opposition instead. They'll wait for the next tiny thing that Pierre Poilievre says or does, and they'll run with that instead. The fact that they're even doing this is honestly shocking. It kind of blew my mind that they're hammering Freeland and the Liberals as hard as they are. But to the average Liberal voter, this is going to disappear. And as soon as Poilievre does something, the mainstream media will jump on it. Yeah, they can't defend this, but it'll be gone in the next 24 hours. It won't be talked about again. That's just how they work. They want to prop up the Liberals as much as they can. They want that government money. They want that tax dollar, whatever it is. Subsidies, grants, whatever. So as soon as, like I said, as soon as Poilievre slips up even the slightest, even if it isn't a slip up, they'll turn it into that. They'll run with it. They'll build a narrative. But yeah, this is terrible optics for the Liberals. Terrible. And, you know, maybe it will sway the odd NDP voter. Maybe the odd NDP person who was NDP, went to Liberal, will look at this and go, what the hell are they doing? And they'll be stupid and go back to the NDP as if that's a better party. But who knows? I honestly feel like the Liberals don't have, like the Carney Liberals don't have much time here. They've played all their cards. They're running on an empty deck. They're reusing old Trudeau strategies. They're trying to come off as a new party. They don't have a lot of time left. I just don't think they do. There's no way. All it takes is Quebec, something to happen with them again to really push the division between the Bloc Québécois and the Liberals, and they will lose a ton of MPs. 44 Quebec seats in the Liberal Party. They will lose seats very quickly if Carney continues to play games with them.
Lose further support over this because it just looks corrupt. She's going to serve as in official capacity in 2 different countries. Come on. Now, what makes this worse is she's already been in this position, double dipping and essentially being an agent for Ukraine for over a week and a half now. We have this here, Cole Hogan, Ford Nation, Jason Kenney campaigns, conservative strategist here, media pundit, says CBC News has talked to a source close to Chrystia Freeland and learned that on December 22nd, Ukrainian President Zelensky asked Freeland to be his economic advisor and create an international advisory panel on reconstruction. On December 24th, Freeland told Carney about this proposal. In other words, he's known the whole time this is happening and refused to answer if he's okay with one of his caucus members, his special advisor to Ukraine, advising the leader on another country, President Zelensky, at the same time. So they've known about this since the 24th. It seems like she's taken this roll up a week and a half ago and has been double dipping, and now she's going to be stepping down in a month. This is so corrupt. With all this, we even have Don Davies chiming in saying, while I respect Ms. Freeland, one cannot serve Canada and another country at the same time. Taxpayers should not be paying for an absent MP, one working for a foreign government. She must resign as MP immediately. So he posted this just before her update there. But I mean, this is pretty sad when you have the NDP criticizing the Liberals.
So I'm really concerned by it. She's got 3 different things at play. She's got a code of conduct as a member of parliament. She has obligations as a sitting parliamentary secretary. She also has obligations as a former cabinet minister. She's not out of her cooling off period whatsoever, and she's had significant dealings with Ukraine in the last year. These rules are in place in order to make sure that they're being applied to have a situation where we don't have former ministers or former or current MPs out trying to get jobs on the backs of the fact that they have this position of power within a government. We can say that Ukraine is different. We can say that Chrystia Freeland is different. Doesn't matter. The rules are the rules. What she should have done, quite frankly, is draft the resignation letter or have a nice letter from the ethics commissioner saying, I looked at it from all 360 and it's all good. No worries. She doesn't have either of those.
Straight to the point there. So the cooling off period, she resigned as minister, and then there's a cooling off period. There's a big difference for the ethics commissioner with a minister versus an MP regarding these positions in Ukraine, for example. And that's why it's a lot more strict if you're a minister of the government. And once again, so she used this loophole of not being paid to be able to do this. If she was being paid, then it would immediately be flagged.
Yeah, source close to her is saying she did converse with the ethics commissioner, but to Lisa's point, there's nothing in writing or officially on the record to that effect. Tom, your thoughts?
I'm so uncomfortable. I could not believe when I read her text this afternoon. One of the Toronto papers had it, she's resigning as MP. And I said, okay, she got that right. And then you go into the word for word of what she put out, as you correctly said, Bashi, in the coming weeks. But that means that for the coming weeks, she is a member of the Canadian Parliament, our core democratic institution, and she has obeisance to a foreign power because she's giving them advice that's good for them. Now, I'm very much like Brian on this. I couldn't be more in favor of Ukraine in the illegal war being prosecuted by Russia against it. That's not what this is about. This is about Canada. This is about our parliament. It's about our House of Commons. And
correct me if I'm wrong on this, too. Did she qualify for her pension? Like, Chrystia Freeland's going to receive her pension. She's been in Parliament for well over a decade now. So, she's gonna leave Canada, resign as MP, still receive her Canadian pension, and work as a minister of a foreign country. This whole thing is just fishy. There's a lot of snaky stuff going on here. I don't know, man. There's no way you can defend this. And it's going to be a stain on the Liberal Party. The question is, how long will it last? Right? Because the mainstream media aren't going to cover this beyond today. Maybe it'll be talked again tomorrow, but I doubt it. Maybe the odd independent, smaller station will pick it up and run with it. But mainstream, boom, done. Next story, please.
And its integrity. And I still
look at this. Every single one of them in agreement. You've got Rob Benzies, Gallant, Liberals, NDP, Tom Mulcair, Lisa Raitt, all in agreement here. Mark Carney's probably going to take a hit in the polls for this because this is awful optics.
I can't believe that someone with the experience and expertise of Chrystia Freeland doesn't seem to quite get that. And I have a feeling there might have been a bit of a broken telephone that made it to Carney. Maybe he got the title, which was she's stepping down as MP. I'm not sure he should have put out that exact statement because he's essentially countenanced a member of parliament working, she says it's as a volunteer, changes nothing, working for a foreign power to put forward the interests of that foreign power. It's a huge mistake. And I can't believe that Chrystia Freeland, with all the brains that she's got, is ending her career this way. I'm gobsmacked.
So rarely do I agree with Tom Mulcair, and he almost had me there until the end of the brains part of Chrystia Freeland, but Tom Mulcair's right here. This is ridiculous to have a member of parliament also serving Ukraine. You can't serve Canada and Ukraine at the same time. This is a direct conflict of interest. Obviously, the Liberals don't care about conflicts of interest. They have Carney himself has a rampant array of conflicts of interest himself.
30 seconds, and they all go to you, Benzie.
I'm surprised too, Vashi. She's full disclosure. Chrystia Freeland is my local MP. I don't vote in elections, but she is I live in Toronto, University of Rosedale, and she's a very popular MP. But frankly, you could run my Cavapoo Poppy with a red tie in that riding as a Liberal, and she would win. So I'm not saying that Poppy's a Liberal, but I don't know what she is. But I think though, as a constituent, I do find it very unusual. And Tom is bang on. The optics are really bad, even though most Canadians agree that helping Vladimir Zelensky is a very good thing to do. It's the way this is rolled out is not a good look.
Yeah, I don't think most Canadians, especially the ones sleeping in tents, are really happy about $2.5 billion more going to Ukraine, especially after corruption scandals in their government right now. And then she's going over there. Obviously, this is a stinky situation. Could this all just be a big laundry party? Because the laundry machines over there, I hear they're so good getting things clean. Moving ahead, we've got this one. Even CTV has picked this up. Cold day in hell. Conservative MP rejects Liberal floor crossing offer. Mark Carney is.
This is what I was talking about. The Conservative MP here he told them to F off. He told the Liberals to piss off, and this is what Chris Dontremont, this is what Michael Ma should have done, but they're spineless.
So desperate right now because Chrystia Freeland has announced she'll be stepping down as an MP. It's a little bit complicated, but when she does that, then that seat is gone. Now, it's a safe Liberal seat. It's a University Rosedale, downtown Toronto. They'll get that back, but they have to have a by-election, which means there's a time period there. The time between Freeland stepping down and the by-election,
Yeah, I saw a couple people posting. They were like, the Conservatives really need to focus and hammer hard on this riding so they could steal it from the... Guys, come on. This is Chrystia Freeland's riding. It's going to go Liberal no matter what. If it went Conservative, then, my God, the entire country would have went Conservative. It's not going to happen. No matter how much money the Conservatives dump into this riding and prop up somebody to try and win it, even if they're like a center progressive Conservative who maybe leans a little more left to gain that vote, it's not going to happen. It'll go red no matter what.
They won't have that seat. And the same thing would be with Nate Erskine-Smith and all these other people, Jonathan Wilkinson and Bill Blair and all these people going over to Europe or whatever. Basically, they won't have a majority. So Carney's got a short window here of probably 3 or 4 weeks before he loses his opportunity to get a majority. And what has he done? He's going out and trying to bribe Conservative MPs, I'm sure NDP, trying to entice them some way. Scott Anderson telling them no, as we see here. So he posted this on Facebook. Says, it's important for my constituents to know that I, like others, have been approached by the Liberals and asked across.
It would be a good play for the Conservatives to throw in a I guess, a more center right leaning sort of left. But the only thing with that is you could end up with another Chris D'Entremont. You end up with another Michael Ma, somebody who doesn't fully have conservative values, clearly, and will only want the benefit of themselves, who switches back and forth. But I guess like there's the possibility that they could slip in like a more leftist leaning conservative. I really don't believe in the whole red Tory thing, right? The liberal conservative, like the Doug Ford kind of thing. I just think Doug Ford's a liberal at this point. That's what I think. So I don't know. It's kind of a tough one, but I think the liberals pretty much have a stronghold there, right? If the people are willing to vote in Freeland over and over and over again after everything she's done, even after she resigned and was kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to run again as the party leader or whatever, and they still voted her back in for this Carney government, like, I don't know. I guess you can hope, right? There's always the slight odd or chance that something changes there, especially with how Carney's handled things. Maybe people are starting to lose hope in the more strong red or liberal areas, but it's hard to say. I don't know. Only an election will tell with those results.
The floor to join them. The Liberal Party of Canada is pulling out all the stops to lure Conservative members of Parliament to cross the floor so they can have a majority and subject Canada to more years of economic and social malaise. With the complicity of the mainstream media, they've promoted the myth that there's some kind of movement to turf our leader, and it's because they are afraid of Pierre Poilievre. We've seen that in those polls I showed you. Andrew Scheer had his run years ago. He did pretty good. Aaron O'Toole came in afterwards. His numbers weren't as good, and Pierre Poilievre is higher than all the rest. He's been the highest supported leader in a long time, and that's why they want to get rid of him. They prefer a milk with toast conservative leader and not a fighter who stands up to their lies and omissions. To the Liberals who initiated this contact, let me say this: your headlines scream about nation-building projects. Almost a year after getting parliamentary approval, there are no pipelines, there are no mines, there's no energy corridor, there's not one formal deal. Indeed, you haven't even bothered presenting plans, because buried in the subtext below every headline are caveats that ensure nothing will ever be done. Simply put, you've done nothing but make empty promises, increase taxation, throw billions away trying to entrench your own power. What are you going to bribe the next Conservative MP with? If broken promises were the only issue, it would be bad enough. But I sit across from you every day and see what most Canadians can't see as they watch CPAC. I watch you laugh when Conservatives bring up closed mills, the shuttered businesses, and seniors who have to choose between eating and rent. I often bring this stuff up. I look at their body language because they do often laugh during this stuff. It's all a big joke to these guys. I watch your self-satisfied scoffs when we ask you to cut taxes and allow Canadians to flourish again. I see you sitting across the aisle in designer suits paid for by a job that's inflation-proof and safe, smirking at those who are trying to scrape out a living of the economic desert you've created. I watch you boast about your handouts, your rental housing that never seems to materialize, your leader who shows up for a few minutes a month for part of question period before jetting off in search of
Oh my God, I couldn't have said it better myself. This guy is going off. Let him cook.
Pointless headlines. This is so savage. It gets better here though. And you have the gall to say that our pleading for the little guy is carping. I'm frankly disgusted. So no, I won't join your party. I have no intention of crossing the floor today, tomorrow, or ever, regardless of what you offer
Let's
me.
go.
It would be a betrayal
Yes,
of my
sir.
constituents, a betrayal of the office to which I have been elected, and a betrayal of my own personal core beliefs. It'll be a cold day in hell before I even consider betraying my constituents, and you should probably stop asking, because I will certainly advertise it every single time you try. Mic drop. This is an absolute bomb here he's dropped on them, just ripping them a new one. Mark Carney is desperate because he knows Chrystia Freeland has to step down in a month here. Meanwhile, we've got Mark Carney. He's just landed.
I'll just say it right now. If a Conservative MP crosses the aisle, their political career is cooked. It's over. Nobody's ever going to vote for Chris D'Entremont again, maybe Liberals. Nobody's going to vote for Michael Ma again, maybe the Liberals. But I'm telling you right now, if a third were to cross at this current moment, say in the next hour or something, oh, buddy, they're done. They're done. The outrage would be so severe, they would have to resign. There's no way. Mark Carney is falling apart, and the only way he's trying to keep things together is by bribing other parties, other party members. It's the scummiest, slimiest shit you can do. And yeah, sure, whatever, it's happened before, but maybe not to this extent. I don't know, man. It's a wild situation. 2026 is going to be crazy. And we're only 6 days in. We're only 6 goddamn days in. We're not even a full week in yet. And things are kicking off.
In Paris, he's meeting with world leaders to help build a just and lasting peace for Ukraine. Yeah, thanks for nothing, Carney. Okay, so they got some guitar music in there I have to turn off, but yeah. Get off his plane, yep.
Flying around the world, accomplishing nothing.
Big smile on his face. Get some of that laundry done, Carney. Don't want to have dirty clothes. Carney's trying to get away from his problems in life, but it's not going to work. We've got Don Davies once again attacking him. This time on him, how he responded to the Maduro situation. Liberals have been weak and afraid to call out illegal U.S. actions. They are putting economic interests ahead of truth, values, and law. Conservatives claim to believe in law and order, except if illegally suits their ideology. It's time for Canada to take principled positions. This is ridiculous. Maduro is a ravenous monster that ends people's lives. There's no...
Who cares what Don Davies has to say? Who cares what the NDP have to say? After what they did, their party's cooked. It's going to take a long time for them to recover, unless people are that blind and forgetful, which is most likely the case. They'll gain a few seats back, don't get me wrong. If an election were to come, they'll probably gain a couple back because they're climate crazy, right? So... But I think a majority of those seats are going to go back to the bloc if we were to head to one. I just quite frankly don't care what the NDP have to say anymore. I never really did care what they had to say, but at this point, like, they're going to head into some sort of leadership race, and whoever becomes the next leader of the NDP, they're not going to change anything. Don Davies is probably their best bet for leader, and even then, he's completely irrelevant. Like, completely irrelevant. He posted this yesterday at 6 p.m. Only 119 likes. Like, some of my videos get more likes than that. Even my worst videos get more likes than that. And that should tell you everything you need to know. That should tell you everything.
Supporting that guy ever. We got Tomek Luksek. This is a guy with a counter-referendum separation vote in Alberta, trying to keep Alberta from separating. He posts the new face of Canadian conservatism, aligning with Trump's lawlessness and total disregard for international law. Trump now gained access to Venezuelan oil. The only reason for his brazen actions. Odd for Poilievre, an Alberta MP, to celebrate that. This is so ridiculous. Pierre Poilievre's wife is from Venezuela. Like, how dumb is this guy? Jumping over to CTV, they're back in action here. They're talking Carney's response versus Poilievre's response to Venezuela.
It's nuanced in a way, but at the same time, you're seeing different reactions, in particular from Carney and Poilievre. What do you make of those reactions?
I really think how we feel about the actions of President Trump in this matter are irrelevant. And what we should be thinking of as leaders in the country is, well, what are we going to do now? And doing nothing is actually a decision. You just can't sit back and watch it all happen and not think that you're not going to be impacted. You are. World oil is going to be impacted. Canadian economy is going to be impacted. And with such a big power move that just happened in Venezuela, you have to think for yourself in terms of, okay, right, Canada, what are we going to do next? Putting out a statement is essential. I think both of them put out the statements that they wanted to put out from a political, partisan point of view. But I got to tell you, I care about Canada. And I want to make sure that whatever is happening to the south of us, we are insulated, protected. And not only that, we're able to put in place the steps that we need in order to ensure our own sovereignty and our own safety going forward. And that's kind of, it's not like I'm saying it's not really any of our concern. It totally is our concern. But what we should be concerned about is our reaction to it and what our plans are going to be going forward, not about the words we chose to describe it and whether or not it's on side with international law.
This is so on point here. Lisa Raitt just dropping the hammer. Our reaction here, or Carney's reaction in this case, because because we're all not making the decision, is everything. And Carney's inaction is a decision. Mr. Net Zero is not going to start building a new pipeline to secure Canada's future. So hopefully we get an election soon, because with numerous MPs stepping down, Nate Erskine-Smith, Chrystia Freeland, Carney won't have this majority. He's trying to steal Conservatives to get a majority here in the next couple of weeks. That doesn't happen.
And that's another MP I completely forgot to mention, Nate Erskine-Smith. He's apparently gonna, I guess, run for the Ontario Liberals. Good luck with that, buddy. I don't know what's left of the Liberal Party here in Ontario, but I can tell you it's not very good. They are beyond irrelevant. Worse than the NDP, actually.
We're going to go to another election. We need to get rid of this net zero globalist banker and start building our country up, because we're far behind the 8 ball here. I mean, look at this chart here. We've got this guy, Sean, posting this. The numbers don't lie. Anyone still supporting Carney and the Liberals need to be institutionalized. Trump is not the enemy. Our own government is. This chart here shows Canada, the industrial implosion. We see decade after decade, and Justin Trudeau gets in right here, and look where our country has gone. Mark Carney gets in here. The numbers, in fact, don't lie. Canadians almost voted in a Liberal majority government less than a year ago, now one seat away from actual majority. Canada might be unfit to exist, and people should start supporting decentralization. It's over. I think a good portion of Canadians that voted for Mark Carney, they liked the idea of Mr. Globalist Banker. They thought, okay, central banker, he'll know how to crunch the numbers and save Canada, be that steady hand that we need. And turns out, no, he's a net zero zealot. And well, you hear a lot of it. These people regret voting for Mark Carney. They're like, oops, I made the wrong choice. This guy's not who he says he is. So I think Mark Carney is going to be in for a rude awakening here in the next election. Meanwhile, what's coming out of China? We've got Chinese embassy in the U.S. posting this. China is deeply shocked and strongly condemns the U.S. blatant use of force against a sovereign state and action against its president. Get real. He was a criminal that needs to be put behind bars. Such hegemonic acts of the U.S. seriously violate international law and Venezuelan sovereignty and threaten peace and security in Latin America and the Caribbean region. This is all a joke, guys. China firmly opposes it. We call on the U.S.
China puts that message and statement out while they are actively conducting military drills around Taiwan. You should never take anything China says seriously, because they just project and do everything they claim is wrong. They're a terrible country.
To abide by international law and the purpose and principles of the UN Charter and stop violating other countries' sovereignty and security. No one gives a crap about the UN Charter. There's a bunch of shills who work at the UN. China needs to sit down. They know they're outmatched and outclassed.
If the UN mattered, then why are countries still actively independent? Right? If the laws that the UN actually put in place mattered, which they don't, right? Then why do these countries still do what they do? It just, nothing they do matters. Who is supposed to hold people accountable to UN laws, to international law? What, China is supposed to hold people accountable? All of these countries come together and they're supposed to hold each other? Like, get real. Get real. It's just, none of that means anything. It's just a big circle jerk.
So Tom Mulcair here, completely out to lunch as usual. He thinks Mark Carney has done a masterful job of replying to the whole...
All right, well, I would rather save my brain cells for another day than listen to Tom spew some absolute garbage. That is going to do it for today's live stream. Thank you all for joining on YouTube, Rumble, and Kick. Looks like Kick figured out the situation with bots. The chat was getting spammed like crazy the other day. But anyway, that's going to do it for today. Thank you all for joining. Enjoy the rest of your day or night, depending on where you are from. Most likely be live tomorrow covering something. I don't know what, but we'll see when the time comes. Adios, everyone.
Constituents, and you should probably stop asking, because I will certainly advertise it every single time you try. Mic drop. This is an absolute bomb here he's dropped on them, just ripping them a new one. Mark Carney is desperate because he knows Chrystia Freeland has to step down in a month here. Meanwhile,